seconds. We try to resolve some last-minute internet issues. Sorry about that. Okay, so when I'm still sort of like setting my machine, and then let me actually get some ideas about your background. I'm Doris Chen, and I will formally introduce myself in about a minute when my presentation starts. Let me take this opportunity to get some idea about your background. How many of you here are web developers? Very good. And I don't have to ask how many of you already have exposure to HTML5, JavaScript, because that's a conference for you guys. Very good. Do we have any people here, maybe from some other background, from like Android development, Android, iOS, like iPad, iPhone development? Okay, we have a couple. Do we have any other people from different scripting language background, like PHP? All right, Python, Ruby on Rails. Okay, very cool, very cool. Thank you. Okay, so let me actually put it on slide mode. So welcome to developing HTML5 applications on Windows 8. My name is Doris Chen, and I usually use this slide so that you could catch up on more information. I'm a developer evangelist at Microsoft. And really, my focus is working with people like you, developers. This is my email address, doris.chen@microsoft.com. And you could also reach me on Twitter. Somebody actually took Doris Chen, so I have to take Doris T. Chen. There's a T there, okay, don't forget. And then if you're interested in this presentation and in some other material, I'm focused on web, HTML5, jQuery, and now I'm more focused on HTML5 development on Windows 8. And then I post all my technical content onto my blog. So demos, everything. I'm based in US. I'm from Silicon Valley, California. So if you don't remember my blog address, that's totally fine, because I don't remember that either. But if you do a Google search, Doris space Chen, C-H-E-N. The first link is my blog address. So that's easy to remember, isn't it? Okay, so like I said, I've been with Microsoft for about 2 years. Before that, I worked for Sun Microsystems. I was a Java evangelist for 10 years. So if you have some questions on Java, feel free to ask me. I know it's quite a bit of change, isn't it? Before Sun, I worked as an architect for a few years in a software company. And way before that, I spent quite a few years at school. I went to UCLA, tried to graduate there. I have a degree in computer engineering, focused on medical informatics. So for people interested in healthcare, or have some opinion about healthcare, or do some medical research, talk to me. I'm interested. Okay, so enough about me. Again, I'm a web person just like you, and I love HTML5 and JavaScript. And so I would love to share with you something I learned about Windows 8. And as you can see, that's a pretty busy agenda. Hopefully, we could get most of it done here. We're going to start with Windows 8 overview. And we're going to actually talk some of the new features for HTML5 CSS3 in IE 10. And then we're going to talk about briefly about what you could do with Windows JavaScript library, WinJS. And the most important things I want to actually share with you as a web developer, as a JavaScript developer, what are the things we could do on Windows 8? How much new stuff you have to learn? And what are the skill set we already have, right? So I could assure you, you already get all the web skill set you need to develop a Windows 8 application, because that's all we need. And we're going to go over that. And towards the end, important things, share your resource, because 1 hour is not going to do a lot of work for you. Okay, so let's actually start with, I like to start with this slide, because it's actually per developer's request. They think I should show this slide. Okay, so this is probably the only marketing-related slide I have. Let's see. Okay, so opportunities. So I kind of overlook that. I know there's a lot of other communities doing really well. and I'm happy for them. But at the same time, I also feel this is actually not from Microsoft, from IDC. It's a pretty neutral kind of center to provide you some data. So what I try to show you is there are, for Windows 7, for the past 2 years, there are 670 million licenses using Windows 7. And just to be fair, I would think quite a lot of them is going to migrate onto Windows 8. Because Windows 8, I don't know about here in Europe, but in US, you pay $39 to upgrade to Windows 8. So that's really a pretty inexpensive license upgrade. And then plus you get a lot of things from Windows 8. So how many of you have seen Windows 8? Okay, a couple of you, very good. So for me, Windows 8 is really cool is because it really gives me, the tablet kind of feature, touch enabled everything. But at the same time, I will be able to do my development just like I could do it on Windows 7 or other PCs. And perhaps this is probably the diagram you want to pay a little attention because that will tell you what kind of entity, what kind of platform you're using here. So there are big diagram, but for us, we only concentrate on the green and the blue part. The green part is the web application part. It's running on the browser, right? Any browser of choice, using the web skill set like HTML, JavaScript, business as usual, like what we usually do for web. So the new thing I want to actually emphasize on is the blue area, which is still using HTML, JavaScript, CSS that we usually do on web application, but this time is actually running on the Windows 8 platform, meaning the JavaScript engine, which I emphasize here, JavaScript, is the same JavaScript you use for IE10. So that part is exactly the same. The difference here is this part could actually communicate with all the WinRT, which is the Windows runtime library. So this particular application, even though you use a web skill set to develop, those are native applications. And versus this, it's still available on Windows 8, but this is a web application running in a browser, right? So I know you guys still think maybe a little puzzled about, what exactly I'm talking about. So the idea here is, really, to give you the Bible diagram, and then you see web versus native, right? And you see some additional Windows runtime library you will be able to leverage. Now, so I think it's very important to get an idea about a difference, especially for us web developers. So I sort of summarized this little slide, hopefully give you a better idea. So what it says here is both of those green and blue type of application, they're leveraging web skill set, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Difference here is a web application is deployed onto server, and it's a page-by-page kind of fashion, running in a browser. This is the web. Whereas Windows 8, it's installed locally on your machine, just like any native application. And then it has direct access to Windows runtime, right? And then you could share information between Windows 8 native application. So I know that people may be familiar with a word that started with M, right? But officially, the new term at Microsoft, we call it Windows 8 Store application. But to keep it short, in the rest of the talk, if I say Windows 8 application, that means it's a native. It's the same thing when you say Metro, all right? So you can say that word, I can't. Okay, all right, so let's move on. So let me actually, how many of you have played, or maybe your kids have played cut a rope on iPad? A lot, right? That's what I assume. Okay, so I want to share with you a version which is completely web-enabled. Nice music. Sorry, I have to kill you. All right. So, so you could listen to me. Now, this is a totally HTML5 JavaScript-based application called Rope. And you could run IE or any of the browser of your choice. This is a public URL is cuttherope.ie. You could run. And what it does is it actually changes all the traditional like iOS-related package into JavaScript. So the physics engine, game physics engine underneath that. Rewritten in JavaScript. And then if you look at the game itself, already it's like a a regular iOS related, and you could still do, all those fun things, It's web-based, but you do notice because it's web-based, so we do have to actually have a little bit different version to target for different device, which it says later, web-based, right? So this is a web-based application, totally fine, nothing wrong with that. It's good, it's cool. But if you actually look into, this is a Windows 8, right? This is what we call Windows 8 startup menu, because everything started with touch-enabled scrolling kind of fashion. And one of the app actually I installed particularly for you guys is Windows 8 application, native. What you see the difference here is everything is centralized, right? Every single pixel represents a context of this application. There's no browser look and feel, the URL or whatever things behind, what we call little like a Chrome looking kind of thing. It's not a web application. So this is exactly the same. What I could tell you is 100% of code using HTML, JavaScript has been translated into Windows 8. We did not waste any of the web code. Obviously, we need to put some other thing. So this is totally Windows 8 native application, written in JavaScript, HTML. Now, the good thing about that is performance will be better because this is a native, right? Native approach versus the web approach, right? So I was worried to death before you guys came in because I was like, sweat because internet is not working. That's because I'm trying to cut a rope on internet. But with this, I have no worry because I don't need internet. It's locally installed on your machine, right? Okay, so you'll get a pretty good idea. Let me move on to my next one. Okay, so let's actually spend just a little bit of time talk about the features in IE10 because some of you guys maybe will need to use that. So let me actually share with you some of the new feature, new HTML and CSS3. Now, I use this one to summarize. Unfortunately, I have to apologize. The color does not really show out really clearly. So if you have good eyes, which I assume you all do, there's actually, I hear some response. Nice. So, and I think if you could distinguish, there's a blue, like the CSS 3D transforms, CSS animations, those are in blue. Everything in blue here are the new features, will only be available on IE10. And then everything in the black, it's already available on IE9, right? So like to point out a few new features like a CSS 3D, animation, Flexbox, grid and Flexbox. We will do some demo. Some other things like position to flow exclusions is really cool. Have you seen some demo? Transitions is support there, as well as you will be able to do the file, manipulate the file with HTML5. That's in IE10. The things like a drag and drop, standard way to do HTML5 form and validations is also there. If you're interested in the local storage, IndexedDB is supported on IE10. I know a lot of browsers also support that. It's a HTML5 standard database, right? You all know that, IndexedDB, to handle the local storage issue, right? So, and some other things like SVG filter effects, that's a pretty cool. And WebSockets, yes, we do support WebSockets. Web workers, right? WebSockets is really a very revolutionary way to let a server to do event broadcasting, right? And it's really good because before we called AJAX push or commit, right? But because of server implement different ways, so you could not make sure it is cross different server, it's no portability. So now everything is using WebSockets, then you could do it. Think about a chat room, that's the idea of using WebSockets. Think about an online tic-tac-toe kind of game. That's use WebSocket. Web workers is actually another interesting approach. You heard of Doris Crawford's talk. You know JavaScript is a single-threaded programming model, right? What if I need to support a multi-threading environment? What I'm going to do, right? So web workers is especially designed to providing you the service, what they call service. The service will provide a synchronized way to run in the background to mimic the environment of multi-threading kind of environment. That's what we do, right? So very interesting. There's a demo on IE test drive which show you they do. How many of you have been Bellagio in Las Vegas? Somebody, maybe? The most interesting thing is actually the water fountain in front of that. So there is a demo which is showing the water fountain, but we have to use web workers because it's a really good approach. Why? Because if it's a single-threaded, then you maybe just see one piece of water fountain running, not like 12 and 20. So you use web workers to sort of make sure that every water fountain is leverage one web worker as a thread running on the background, so you could see all 20 water fountains running at the same time. Very good use of web workers. But, so I wish I have time to share with you more, but I actually have some training material on that towards the end. I will point that to you. But let me actually sort of go back to the main focus of today. So these are the typical, like the things, HTML feature people really want in Windows 8, and we support all of them. I mean, so for example, WebSockets, web workers, IndexedDB, Html5. Yes, IE10 support a strict mode, so that's very good. File and geolocation, audio, video tags, and a lot of touch-related events. We will have time to talk about that. Forms and IE10 even have spell check, so that's actually a pretty good feature. All right, so one actually you catch attention is the CSS3. Now, I know like we all, JavaScript has a lot of background in JavaScript. How many of you actually, use CSS3 quite a bit? Okay, a couple of you. So very good. I want to say probably for the past year, in terms of HTML5 momentum, CSS has the most progress. There's a lot of really cool things happening in the CSS3 area. So for example, transformation part, 2D, 3D are available. Motion, you could do animations and transactions to use CSS3 to do all those really cool animation things. Layout, I think it's very important as us for web developer to do some design. So I will spend a little bit of time talk about grid and the Flexbox. Right? How many of you actually heard about grid or Flexbox or both? Okay, a couple of you. Okay, let me show you something really cool. We have gradient and text shadow for graphics, as well as for the content flow, we have something called a multi-column, and then they have a hibernation, pagination support, as well as what they call position flow, which will show you with you some demo to see what are those features. Maybe not that much detail because we have some other content to go through. So, and the other thing is people says, what about hardware acceleration? Because we all know the modern browsers, you probably understand what I mean, modern browsers. All the modern browsers are competing on what? How many features that browser will support? What's the performance, right? So in terms of performance, hardware acceleration is the most important thing. People competing on performance basically just say, do you have hardware acceleration support there? Right? So normally what you see is you see a bunch of HTML5 feature has hardware acceleration. But then yes, CSS3, IE10 does have hardware acceleration for all the new feature for CSS3. So that's actually a big thing. Why? Because I was like you, I'm a developer. So 2 or 3 years ago, I totally overlooked about CSS. I thought this is a decorative language. It's not programming even, right? I mean, why should I worry about that, right? Very bad, right? I mean, overlook. But now I realize how important it is. And also, you probably worry about it and say, I'm not quite sure. I'm a good developer. I could do this. I implement this with my own JavaScript code. Are you sure your CSS feature is good? Performance has no problem? Oh, let me show you. Actually, it is very good because there's a big team behind those CSS3 support for each browser, right? So it's all very professional team. They come out with really performed hardware accelerated CSS3 feature. So you don't have to worry about performance. So let's actually go a little further to show with you. But I really love to talk a little bit about one feature before we move on to all the nice layout, all those things, which is one of the most fundamental feature called median queries. That's actually the fundamental of responsive web design, right? So median queries is used a lot. I know it's used a lot in today's life because you want to support. How many of you actually never heard of median queries? Okay, only a couple of you. So median queries is a feature we live in a big world, right? So we write some application, not just support one device. We want to support multiple devices. We want to support a big screen like this. We want to support a laptop, tablet, phone, game console, things like that. But if you just write it once, how would you make sure your app look good with different device, with different characteristics, with different size, different resolution? How would you know? right? So this is where the medium query is going to play roles on that. It will provide you a very nice way so you could organize your content according to each of the device you want to support. So this is a really good way. So Windows 8 is actually using the same concept. They will be needing 4 different view states in Windows 8. First of all, it's very easy. It's just like the full mode. Everything is just like a screen. Second one is also very easy, portrait, right? We're going to do the portrait mode, what's going to happen. There's another feature called a snap and fill. Some of you may not be aware. This is a pretty unique feature in Windows 8, meaning you could run 2 applications on Windows 8 at the same time. And there's a lot of scenario for that. For example, I have my main window as my, say, desktop to do application. And I do want to take a look. How is the stock market today, right? If my favorite stocks are doing well. So maybe you will open another small one like this. It's called Snap View, right? It's a small one. And then the main one, maybe it's your desktop with your IDE or whatever open. This is called Fill View. So Snap, Fill is also some application you need to support. So if you look at a different view states, basically it's the same concept. It is like, what if I have different size, different resolution to support? What are you going to do? So these are the 4 states actually predefining Windows 8, and then we leverage the medium queries concept, right? So if you look at this is a little more getting to the code. So I use this still to represent 4 different view states. Now, everything I'm talking about on the previous slide, talk about a new HTML CSS3 feature, all the cool CSS3, all those are standard feature combined with W3C. Starting with this slide, when I show the view state, these are Windows 8 specific, yes, Microsoft proprietary kind of feature, all right? So I just want to make it clear to you. So there is a medium screen. This is just like what you do for medium query. And then it's predefined with a MS view state. This is called full screen. So if it's a full screen, this is you rearrange a lot of content there. And if you want to support another one like a portrait, like a device portrait, then you have another kind of set of things, the CSS property you want to apply. And then so is a snap view as fill view. So all these 4 states, you will probably need to implement it for Windows 8 application. But that's it, only 4 views. And then the good thing is in the template, which we use Visual Studio template, they actually generate all the template for you. So you don't have to write any of those code. All you have to do is fill in the content between. Everything will be there already, right? So this is actually a very good use of medium query, and I think it make our life quite a bit easier. So before I move on to the next one, I actually want to show you some of the CSS3 feature. So very quickly, let's actually start with this is the CSS, what I call collection. And then if you want, you go to IE test drive, just type IE test drive. There's a bunch of demos there. This is one of the demo. So I want to show you what I mean Flexbox. Flexbox is a way you could actually arrange things vertically and horizontally really easily, and using the CSS. So if you're not a really CSS guru, and you could actually just copy paste everything here. And then use sliding bar, for example, I play with a flex align. You could do the start point. You could do endpoint, and just changing one parameter here. And you could do in the middle, called a center. You could do a little stretch mode to make it like this, right? And then you could go back to the beginning. Or you could play with this particular direction. You could do beginning. You could do the reverse order, 3, 2, 1, see the order? And you could make it a vertical, just so easy. Just change to the direction as a column. And then, obviously, you could do the reverse order with column reverse. So it's that easy, right? All you do is change one parameter, and your graphical components could in different order you want without any JavaScript, right? And then Flexbox is really a good feature because they actually, let me show you what I mean. So for example, I have some white space. White space for people doing design is really something bothering us. We have to fill those space. So the Flexbox itself has some nice features. If I large like this, when it's getting smaller, it does resize automatically, to sort of like fit into the space. And what if you say, I have this white space, what are you going to do? So in the properties thing, there is a Flexbox kind of position. You could change this box 3 Just give it to 1, and it will fill up all the space dynamically. All right, so I highly recommend you to take a look, especially you could take a look at the collection of those things and go there and take a look at what the CSS look like. If you like it, take it, right? And you could still play with the order, like even with this, with this kind of shape. That won't bother, right? Pretty nice. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Let's take a look at the grid layout. Grid is something I think people use a lot because practically you could digest any of the diagram into a grid layout with a matrix, all those things. So grid provide a very dynamic way you could change any column, any rows, and then all the change will reflect here, the same fashion. And you could also do something really nice, do an interesting grid or more complex grid like this, And then you could still go to the grid structure, say, I want to play with that, I like it, but I don't like the size. And everything will be saved here. Right, so this is grid, and it will make it so powerful. You could do anything with grid. And then one other thing I personally found very useful is called multi-column. So in a blog or whatever content, you do single column. It's not that interesting. What if I want to change it to multiple columns, right? You just change a column counter from 1 to 2, right? And then it could 3, 4 like this. Or you could do, say, I want to have some width control. So I could choose different widths to control the column width. Isn't that nice? You do this, right? And you could also do some like the style, like do like a normal gap, solid line, and I could do broken line, different thing. I could play with the color, the gray, like I could do different color. You could do all those things with multi-column, right? This is a parameter you could play with. So very, very easy to get the particular one you want. Now, the other one I feel I like to share with you, it's called CSS exclusions or position flow. A few years ago, I did do a project on this. The company want to actually have a logo on here and embed it with their company literature. And they wanted people to have some fun, not just something like this. They wanted me to say, I could do something like this. Isn't that cool? And then obviously still within the range, right? I'm not going to hurt any text. The text is still good, not overlapping. And I did work on that. I got a prototype working, but the performance is pretty bad. I see big delay when I drag over like this. And then now it's good with CSS exclusion. I could do it. And I could even change the multi-column like a layout, grid layout on the background. It doesn't bother me. It's still doing the same thing, right? So this is if you want to do some animation, having some fun, do it, use it, CSS. All right, so enough of CSS, but I think you guys are happy, see some smile on your face. That made my day, that's good. Thank you for being a good audience, because sometimes I see people has no expression on their face. I just don't know how does it go, right? So let's actually go back to the Windows library. So WinJS what they try to do is they try to actually communicate with Windows runtime library, but it's like a wrapper, right? But the language itself is JavaScript. So every API I will be talking about, or you will see later on, is actually based on WinJS. Which covers a lot of things like talk about a namespace. Yes, there's namespace support for JavaScript. That's actually good. There's a promise pattern for you to do asynchronous programming. Then you will see how it goes. And there's a lot of other things for navigation, for particular page control, data binding, and so on. Obviously, I don't have time to talk all of them, but I will show you some of them. But the cool thing, about that is it's not something I need to learn another piece of language. It's not like for iOS, I need to learn different language. It's a JavaScript, it's HTML, it's the same thing. Okay, so I want to actually share with you some of the free tools you will be able to use. Share with you a tip. Microsoft, a lot of tools are free. So if you download any tools, if you happen to like them, if you see the word Express, E-X-P-R-E-X-S, it's a free version. So we have Visual Studio 2012 for Windows 8 Express. And there's another one called Brand Tool. It's a designer tool, right? So it's authoring like HTML, CSS into it. And this is a totally free tool. And it's really good. If you never have that, it's called Brand, B-L-E-N-D. And it's not just because it's free, but it does actually offer you a lot of cool feature. Let me actually show you really, really quickly, because I think you will like it if you use that a lot. So what I normally do is I use Visual Studio for my basic JavaScript programming, but I do actually using Brand to do the authoring for CSS3 and HTML. So let me just open one project. So you could open it in Visual Studio, but then you could also open in a design tool called Brand, because I thought it's there already, but I realized I just rebooted my machine right before this talk, so didn't open it. So this is a designing tool. You could visually see all the design there, and you could play with the CSS properties as you like. So this area we're showing you all the HTML. This area we're showing all the CSS. And there's a live DOM components there. So you could actually click on any one of them and take a look at the CSS property. And the CSS property is done in such a way I like it. It's kind of, CSS3, one problem with that is if you have multiple files, you don't really know if they're going to overwritten something. You don't know which exactly the CSS property you're working with, right? Because usually you have to go through each file to find out. But with this, it actually takes care of your scope. It will list all the applying CSS, meaning active ones, right? So you could change that. If you change that, it will change impact. So there's a lot of things like you could click on one feature and take a look at CSS property there. You could do a visual way. And then the reason I want to show you is there's some things what we call hiding feature there. Let me see. I think there's something hiding. So you could show it there. So I could say I go to that particular one. I could actually hide something. When I hide something, something is gone, right? I could hide more. So this is really cool if you want to do design. I could hide a lot of components. I could hide everything there so that you could focus on the component you want to work with without already interference with different objects. Also, I would love to share with you. Yes, maybe I'm hiding too much. There's an interactive mode. Let me put it back. Sorry. So there's an interactive mode there. Which you will be able to see the result from the JavaScript. Because a lot of time in the designer tool, in the offering tool, what we usually see is, dynamic data. Usually you wouldn't be able to see it in your code, right? So hold on, make sure I'm writing. I'm opening the right project. There's a good chance I may open a different one. All right. Oh, I know. Device. I'm in the wrong device. Okay, why it is that small? Because it's a snap view. I could do a portrait view. I could have a landscape view, right? Okay, let's go back to the. So this is a mode for the JavaScript, meaning I could really test the code in a JavaScript mode. So when I do start a game, it's a memory game. You guys have to help me remember all the picture. So I could have found my first match. Oh, here. Wait, I'm lucky. So when you have those match, this code, this image is all generated from JavaScript. So why it's good? Because when you finish doing all those things, then when you go back to your code, you will be able to see the JavaScript result from this. So you would be easily to go back to all the code to say, oh, now I know what kind of style I'm going to say. I'm going to click on that. I could apply style onto it. Versus I click on this, I don't know what to do, right? When you have the JavaScript, you know this is what you expect to do, more style, put a background color, put transition onto it. So this tool will allow you to show the result from a JavaScript and applying a static rule like a CSS onto it. Okay, that's a difference. All right, Brand, if you want to use that, that's a tool. And it's free, right? I think it's important to let people know it is free because everything we have to try from free. Then we could decide if we want it or not, right? And it's free forever. It's not just trial version. All right, so let's move on. So I want to actually, show you some tools. This is actually, by the way, the link. You could download all the tools, right? It's bit.ly Windows 8 download if you want to do that, including Windows 8 OS. You could get a 90 days trial period. Windows 8 is not free forever. It's a 90 days trial. The tools are free, all right? So I want to make it clear. Otherwise, you think I'm lying to you. No, I don't do that. So let's see. So I want to actually give you a quick demo. This is a demo I actually did in HTML5. So it's really a HTML5 application, and it's a web application. I'm going to use Visual Studio 2012. Again, it's a free tool with Express. So I'm going to open a website. It's not a Windows 8 application yet. I'm going to open this particular, what we call video fun kind of application. And what I want to show you is, I want to show you what I have here. All right? So very simple. It's less than 100 lines of code, so we could go over really quickly. So are you all familiar with HTML5 video tags, all those things? Pretty good? Okay, so with HTML5, there's no plugin needed. So you use the HTML5 video tag. So with this video tag, the syntax is all markup level syntax. You define ID, you define its autoplay, so when you start with video, it will start playing. In the control, I don't use play and pause. I said I'm going to use mouse movement to control. So I'm doing on mouse out to pause it, or on mouse over to play it. When I move onto the video, it will play. When I move outside the video area, it will stop playing. That's what I would do. And then because of the different browser has a slightly difference in terms of supporting the video format, to the safe side, if you want to do the cross browsers, you always want to do two minimum video format. One is called MP4, the other is called WebM. All right, MP4 is for IE and Safari, and maybe Chrome, and then WebM is for the rest of the modern browsers. So make sure you put all that to make sure it's all cross-browser. So this is just video playing. That's it, right? If it's just video playing, that's all you need to do to play any video, right? Now let's say let's have some fun with the video. I want to do a video reflection. I want to do a reflection of that video. So I want to try some JavaScript code. So what I do is I just create a very lazy kind of canvas. I say there's a canvas there. And then I'm going to write my reflection onto canvas. So in the JavaScript, what I do is, this is a typical add event listener for draw any of the video. So you're defining your video context, the canvas context, and you put in your canvas is always 2D, okay? It's always 2D for now. So you get the context. And then I will try to play with some trick to make it flip over, right? So I use the canvas like a translate, play with the data, and I use a scale to play with all the effect. And then based on the reflection, I'm playing some gradient effect. This you could do CSS, or you could just say in the canvas level, you could create linear gradient. You could put a color there, right? And then afterwards, this is the part I actually draw the video. Okay, pay attention. It's never called draw the video. It's always called draw image. All right. So if there's image, it's the same thing. It's called draw image. And you play with this routine. Give the video content. Give it the size. And then remember, this is actually, it's a set interval. It's like a game kind of thing. Every time you work with canvas, you want to do something, drawing things or whatever, you always do this. Set an interval, putting the data there to create a video and create some fading. In this case, I'll create some fading using the fill rectangular method. And then don't forget to put your interval. It's always, I shouldn't say always, it's usually 60 milliseconds because it's human eyes frequency when you catch things moving, 60. But some people have special trained eyes. They could go above 60 hertz, like a kind of frequency. So it's all allowed. So this is basically what I do for JavaScript. A piece of cake for everybody, right? Very easy. And then what I do is I also, since I fall in love with CSS3, so I also try to do some CSS. So on the CSS level, what I do is I leverage the font face, so I could get some really cool font called a Good Dog Regular. And also, I put a nice background image on top of that. I use this Good Dog Regular font to represent my header. And I actually, here is the cool part. I actually putting some box shadow and put some transition for my video. And also the video, I'm going to hover it over. I wanted this kind of effect. So not just a video hover, as well as a reflection, which is a canvas kind of hover. I use the same thing for box shadow and a transition. And then people tell me, do we have some designers in this room? No. So there's one designer said, Doris, your design is no good. I said, why is it not good? Because he said you don't have a rounded corner. So that's why I take that person's device, and I put a border radius, make all my design rounded a corner. He or she says, I don't want to use that name, says, if it's not a rounded corner, it's not good design. So I know most of you developers here take that advice. Need to be rounded corner. So how do you make a rounded corner? Play with a border radius to make a rounded corner, right? Make a rounded corner. So okay, let's try to run this application. All right. I will do some minor adjustment to make it look better. So what we see is we could have some music. Hover it over. The music is still on, but the video stopped playing for some reason. Okay, this audio is a little delay. You hear that, right? So okay, let's finish. Oh, I know why. This is the music from this guy. That's not fair. It's curated. Okay, let's do it. What do I want to say? What is that? Okay. Have to be. This is a quiet piece of, right? Hear something, right? So it's playing. Stop playing. How about my reflection? Is it working? Wow. It's working. Yay. Okay. So pretty good. I'm happy. And I'm happy to see you guys are happy. And okay, so I'm going to do something pretty brave. I'm going to close this web application. All right? It's a web application. I'm going to create a brand new Windows 8 project. Oh, sorry, not open. Create new. And then the Windows 8 provide a lot of template like a blank, grid, split, and so on. I'm going to choose something very simple, just called blank. Nothing is there. Create this project. And while it's creating, I'm going to go to where my web application is. I'm going to do something pretty brave. Do you want to guess what I want to do? You probably wouldn't guess I would do this in front of everybody. I'm doing it. Okay, so I'm going to actually drag the whole thing into this new project, replace some of the default ones there, and let it run because it's need to copy over all my web application into Windows 8 project. So, and especially with the video card hooking, it may take a little bit time to do that. And my plan is going to, okay, good, thank you. So my plan is going to copy it over into my Windows 8 application. Now it's done. Everything is copied over, right? One important thing is you save everything before you do anything. All right? Okay, cool. Okay, now I'm going to actually run this application. Moment of truth. Hey, it's working. All right. Here's something. It's working. Let me hover it over. Yes, all the nice thing. This is working, but the music, why stop playing the video? Because moving out of that region, right? When I move it back. Right? Isn't that cool? Do you think it's a good Windows 8 application? I could make money right away? Probably not, right? But you see, the idea is web content, move it over, boom, you have, 80% of something there, right? You don't have to change much code. Okay, let's temporarily say goodbye to this app, and let's move on. I want to actually show you. Okay, so I spent quite a bit of time on this app, but I really want you to sort of like, sort of to get some idea. This is the idea, right? This is the idea you will be able to use this Windows 8, all the web skill set migrate into Windows 8 without really changing too much of your code. So really, what I want to really emphasize on is there's a few good news to share with you, by the way. One thing is how going to transform. You could use jQuery. You could use quite a bit of third-party libraries. You could still use all your RESTful web service call because that's on the back end. We don't care. All those parts will be same. You don't need to change. All right? Now, there would be, of course, everything will be just like copy and over, copy and paste, the world would be perfect, isn't it? But there will be something you need to watch out when you transfer onto Windows 8. This is something I want to talk to you. You will realize there will be some difference if you, for example, you do, say, jQuery library, you put on CDN. So meaning you actually need to access external link, third-party library or JavaScripts. If you do that, you need to put them in an iframe. But once you put it in iframe, your context is what we call web context. In that context, you could not directly work with Win.js or work with Windows 8 runtime library. But there's some way you could actually switch over to help you to do that. But you have to understand, if you use CDN for jQuery, you have to sort of temporarily think this is a web context. You could not directly access Windows 8 until you do some method apply onto that to turn that into Windows 8 safe mode, what we call the local context. But it's very easy to fix. You don't have to use CDN. You could have a local copy of jQuery or any of your third-party library. Then you get away from it. All right, so one thing. The other thing is, this is a sort of like a resource page. So if you have a camera or have a phone, you want to take a picture, picture time. So this will give you a lot of resources to tell you what are the difference between, some of the HTML or web context, local context. Some of the minor difference will look like, and things like that. So hopefully you could leverage some of the detail there in your application. Done? When you're done, I will move on, because I know I only have 5 more minutes left. Very good. If not, I will post this on my blog. I will give you a link so you could all download it, all right? All right, so cool. So let's move on. So the things you need to watch out, what I call is best practice, all right? So in the best practice, there are things I want you to pay attention. One is namespace. Because in the browser, everything is really, let's put it this way, browser will take care of all the initialized page. So you use all the JavaScript function or use some of the ID, even though you repeat it, it will still find the right scope, right function to call. But with Windows 8, everything is in a way is what we call global. So there is a lot of, like for example, get name. This is a common kind of API for get name. But when you say get name, Windows 8 wouldn't know because everything is local. It's global. So you're going to have 20 get name. Which one are you going to use? So here, you want to use the Win.js library called a namespace. So you want to actually do namespace defining, my namespace. And then, for example, you could say you have a JavaScript function called something useful, and you could actually sort of map it with another thing. I said something useful in Brew. And when you finally invoke it, you say my namespace dot something useful like this. And that's about it. Very easy to do, right? But that will solve a lot of web application. Because when you transfer your existing web code, this is something you want to do, all right? So this is one of the things you need to watch out. The second thing you want to watch out is when you could still keep on doing all the web, like a RESTful web service kind of thing. But then there's an easy way for you to do is use Win.js library called XHR. This way you don't go through the web. You don't really go through web. You go underneath it. So it's actually a native way to call. So you bypass the cross-boundary call issue. You don't worry about that. And this is really asynchronous, very easy, right? You call XHR, you have the URL you want to reach, right? And then function is like a callback routine. You update whatever you want to do, right? And then the then function is also very powerful. You will be able to cancel that particular interaction. You could set up a timeout. You could do a lot of things with that. And it's an asynchronous approach. And then that's using the pattern called promise. How many? Some of you may hear promise. We use a promise pattern. So this is pretty cool. If you don't want to directly call third-party, RESTful web service, you could use XHR to do most of the work. All right, it's the same thing. Okay, so since I'm not running out of time, I actually wanted to show one last quick demo. I hope it's working. I wrote it actually on the plan, some of them. So let's see if it's working. It's an HTML5 demo collection. I collect a lot of audio, video, canvas, all those things. Some of them still work in progress. But I did put this demo here as part of a demo collection. So when you're putting things into there, you will see the background will change, and there will be some different things. For example, I could do a video gyroscope.
That's a full rainbow. All the way.
And then everything what you see here,
oh my God.
You could actually use app bar to do the web kind of context. So in the web, you will see this video switch button or link to do that. But with Windows 8, this is what we call app bar, which is like this, on top or on the bottom. You could do that, all right? So this is another pretty cool effect to play with a video kind of thing. Boy, we could have 5 minutes fun for that, is that? sorry, you're not going to have that much fun. So this is one of the pretty famous web application. Every application I show you here, those are all pretty well-known web application, you know. So you could actually play with quite a lot of them. I would just want to show you this is a web application, and I kind of converted it. Like this is called one of the famous one called Video City, and you could play with different kind of like button on the bottom, touch enable. It could from daytime to nighttime, you know. And if you want, you could play with some of the video there, you know. These videos are actually, in a way, it's doing like a split kind of fashion, and that all the video playing actually at the same page, right? And I just extract that video so you could have better performance there. This is just a zooming kind of view of doing that, right? Okay, hope you have some fun. Let me go back to my presentation because I think I probably have like 30 seconds left. All right, but I hope you get an idea. I mean, let me quit this because this is a pretty memory-intensive application. Let me quit this first. Okay, so the last thing actually I want to actually share with you is I want to share with you some of the resources. Okay, we did most of them. I didn't get a chance. One more thing is about a touch. So we actually proposed a W3C proposal for the touch. Why is that? Because we feel it's actually needed to have a little touch-enabled kind of function so that you will be able to, this is a good one. So you will be able to actually use this API to do a really standard way to do touching. And the cool thing about that is we're combining the touch, the mouse, the keyboard, the stylus pen, all the interaction input into one. And this is called a pointer event. And this is a one-point event you need to support, and then everything else is get it for free. So you just implement it once, and you get to touch everything for free. And I do have a few slides which I may not have time to really go over that, but it's there. Like for example, this is a typical like add event listener kind of way to do different kind of touch, like MS down, MS move up, and things like that. All right. Sorry, I have to rush. I don't really have time to cover all those things for you, but this is a fast forward on my presentation. So if you know your web technology, you're ready to build amazing Windows 8 application. I do have a typo to fix. It is started with that M, but you get the idea, right? All right, so resource is very important since I only have last minute, and I want to actually show you a very good program. I will double check if it's available in Europe. Yeah, this is called Build Your Windows application in 30 days. Write down that URL. It's Win8 generation app. It's case sensitive, it's Billy Link. This will actually help you to really get a free support. It's a free program. You get a free supporter to build Windows 8 application. You get free consultation to take a look at your GUI design. There's a designer to sit with you to go through that. You get 30 days, every day you have a tip to develop your application. You get also another session with engineer. Before you submit your app to the store, you say, if my app looks good, there's any problem I need to watch out before I submit to the store. You could sign up for those. So this is called, it's called Generation App. I hope you write down this link, Win8 Gen App, Win8 Gen App. So this is a really highly recommend. And also just to share with you tips, they actually constantly give away Slate and a Windows Phone device for free for people. And so if you sign up for that program, you may have a chance to actually get a new device. Okay, a few things about HTML5 resource. One thing, if you want to write down one link, I have a HTML5 CSS free training for people, to catch up with HTML CSS. The training is here, is this URL. And then so as I have a lot of other, like for the CSS, responsive web design, as well as if people interested in using Blend, I have a really step-by-step tutorial to show you how to do that. And then the IE test drive, there's a lot of nice feature like the CSS, right? You would go to this test drive to get it. You could get it from there, right? So this is ready for the HTML5 resource. And for Windows 8, there's one resource if you want to get is called Windows 8 Camp in a Box. It's a bunch of tutorial presentation. You could actually get it from this URL. There's some other things you may want to get. So if you take a picture, it's there. This presentation and demo, I will post it. Just look for Doris Chen, right, on Google. Search for the link, and the first blog is probably will contain this presentation. And thank you very much. Thank you. So I will be staying here if